Hello and welcome everyone in our audience and everyone watching at home, welcome. It gives me great pleasure and privilege to be sitting here today on Thursday, May 25th, 2017 at 6:30, and I will now call the meeting to order. We're going to start with our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance led by Pete Crisp. If anybody would like to say a prayer, our pastor couldn't show up today. Mr. Towler or any council, would you all like to lead in prayer? Would you like to lead in prayer, Mr. Towler? And we can all stand, please.
Dear Lord, we thank you for all the blessings that you've given us. We thank you for the challenges that we face. We ask for the blessing of your understanding and guidance on this body and on the citizens who we serve. We ask and we pray that we will always remember that as we go through this transition of leadership in this city, we always remember that the true leadership, your true leadership, is ours in the past, in the present, and always will be in the future. And that leadership will never change. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, if council would like to make any announcements, we're going to start on the left-hand side with Miss Cynthia. Any public announcements?
No.
Ms. Garza?
Nope.
Mr. Crisp?
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Moran?
Yes, I'd just like to make an announcement to the council, just by way of information. I met with a developer by the name of Steve Yanez and Lance Elliott, who is a consultant, and they're currently doing work here. He's a developer, a residential developer, so we're going to be bringing him back to talk to us about possibly working with the city for a multifamily housing unit and looking at doing what we call the low-income housing tax credits, which is very similar to the program that we did back in 2004, 2005. I think it was completed after 2005, which is the San Diego Creek Apartments. And it'll have a learning center, computer technology for kids. So they're very interested in coming to talk to us about doing that. So I've asked them to come back and do a presentation to the council.
Okay. At this time, we'll listen to our citizens' comments, and I believe we have one citizen comment. But we're just going to go ahead and start by just reading a little reminder of what we expect at this time. Citizens who wish to address the City Council about items on the agenda which are scheduled for council action will have 3 minutes to express their position. Please indicate on the reverse side of the agenda item number on which you wish to comment. And all presentations and discussions should be directed to the City Council and all questions to the mayor. Any complaints and or discussion about individuals, personnel, council members, city staff, or other persons would be out of order and will not be heard by the City Council at this time. Charges or complaints about specific individuals shall be presented in writing to the city manager. All complaints of this nature must be signed and dated by the individual filing the complaint and will be addressed pursuant to Alice personnel policies. Also, in the essence of time, presentations by individuals shall be limited to 3 minutes each. An individual speaker's time may be extended for an additional 3 with the approval of the majority of the council members present. There shall be a cumulative limit of 15 minutes allotted of any regular or special council meeting. The mayor will ask for those wishing to address the council to do so at the appropriate time. Please approach the speaker's stand, state your full name and address when you begin your remarks in order that the official minutes will record your appearance before the City Council and discuss the topic of interest. If you have written notes you wish to present to the mayor and the council, please furnish any extra copy to the city clerk for official files. Please direct your comments to the mayor and council. Although council cannot take specific action on citizens' comment topics due to legal requirements, they will hear the topic, and council may, 1, have the item placed on a future agenda for action, or 2, refer the item to a board, commission, or committee, or 3, refer the item to staff for study or conclusion. Okay, at this time, we have Ms. Cora Lozano. If you would please take the stand and repeat your name for the record, please, ma'am.
My name is Cora Lozano. My address is 717 West 1st Street here in Alice. And I am here to speak for item 11, I believe it is, the auditorium. I have been a citizen of Alice all my life. I don't have any contact with the high school swim team or anything of the sort. As a child, I contacted polio, and I walk with a cane and wear a leg brace. I cannot take advantage of the city walking trails because I cannot walk that much because of the tear and the use of the ligaments and muscles in my leg. The only type of exercise that I can do is pool exercise. So when the auditorium was open, I would pay my dues monthly, and I would go in there 3 to 4 times a week, and I would walk the length of the pool. I had weights that we had purchased, and that was definitely helping me. And while I was there, I met several people that were there that had had back surgery, knee surgery, and everybody was there for the same reason that I was there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lozano. No other citizen comments at this time, so we will move on to agenda item number 3, presentation of proclamation proclaiming the month of May as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month. And then we'll also move on to item agenda 4, presentation of Good Samaritan Award to Mr. Ralph Lopez. So at this time, if I can have council step down so that we can photo op and present. So today we're going to present the proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, which is myself, Jolene B. Vanover. Whereas today's society is finding more citizens involved in motorcycling on the roads of our country, and whereas tens of thousands of motorcyclists travel the roads, streets, and highways going to their regular work and school commutes and in their weekend adventures and vacation rides, and whereas motorcycles are fuel efficient, reduce traffic and parking congestion, and tread lightly on the overworked road system and transportation infrastructure for which they help provide funding. And whereas the vast majority of the members of the motorcycling community are genuinely committed to upholding safe and sane policies and procedures for themselves and their passengers, and certainly also for their fellow motorists with whom they share the highways and roads of our state. And whereas it is a responsibility of all who put themselves behind the wheel to become aware of motorcyclists, regarding them with the same respect as any other vehicle traveling the highways of this country. And it is the responsibility of riders and motorists alike to obey all traffic laws and safety rules. And whereas I'm urging all citizens of our community to become aware of the inherent danger involved in operating a motorcycle, and for riders and motorists alike to give each other the mutual respect they deserve. Now, therefore, I, Jolene B. Vanover, Mayor of Alice, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2017 as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month. Further, I urge all residents to do their part to increase safety and awareness in our community. You're welcome. This way.
Mayor, if you want to remain yourself in the council, I'm going to read something on your behalf about the employee. And then if our employee, Mr. Rodolfo Rudy Salazar and his spouse, can you step up with the council, please? On the afternoon of April 18, 2017, our employee Rodolfo Rudy Salazar, in performing the scope of his job duties for the Parks Department, was weed trimming in a sign designated highway area of a city right-of-way lot in the proximity of Chili's and Aaron's. Rudy had done tasks such as these many times with great efficiency and success, both on this day, but on this day, something didn't go right. Unfortunately, Rudy disturbed a large hornet's nest that was hidden, and in a split second, he was being attacked by a swarm of mad hornets. His co-workers were a distance away, taking care of their own areas, and were trying to make their way back to him as soon as they saw the thick black pattern of hornets swarming on him. There was much traffic going on at this time of day in this busy intersection of town. Luckily, one passerby just didn't drive by, but stopped in his truck where Rudy was. This good Samaritan, swatting the hornets off of him too, got to Rudy and pulled him in his truck. Seeing that Rudy was in distress after being stung on his head, face, and neck, he drove him to the hospital to get aid. Rudy spent the rest of the day and most of that evening at the hospital, and we're most grateful that he has fully recuperated. We have since come to know the name of the Good Samaritan who rendered his aid that day to be Ralph Lopez. Mr. Ralph Lopez was to be contacted to receive recognition for his good deed at the City Council meeting to be held April 27, 2017, but the meeting was canceled. We have since tried to contact him at the number provided, but the number has since changed to inform him of tonight's recognition. So, Mr. Ralph Lopez, if you're out there, or if anyone knows this gentleman, please be advised that we are most grateful to you for your most selfless act. In addition, we would like to present you, Ralph Lopez, this certificate of heroism in absentia on behalf of the Alice City Council and all the citizens. Our sincere appreciation for the life-saving heroism on behalf of Rodolfo Rudy Salazar on April 18, 2017, for your heroic actions, which deserve special recognition by the governing body of the City of Alice this evening. Thank you.
You know my sister? Elida. Otra She knows me. Now I know who you are. Congratulations, sir.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to agenda item number 5. Hear a presentation from members of the Downtown Alice Revitalization Association to update the City Council on the Rural Challenge meeting held on May 22nd, 2017. At this time, Council, please be aware it's a presentation, so if we need extra time, we can address Ms. Marissa afterwards. Thank you.
Well, it's just me, myself, and I today representing the Downtown Alice Revitalization Association. I am the president. I took this over when Warren Kettleman, which was our previous EDC director, left Alice. He had a Downtown Merchants Association, and so when he left, we kind of turned it around because it didn't just include the downtown merchants, it included more of the community this way. So since then, we have begun looking at different areas where we could find some money to help us revitalize our downtown. And we do know where we stand financially as a city and as a county, but at the same time, we can't just give up and let things just continue as they have. So We have reached out to Rural Challenge, which is a program that, let me make sure I get this correctly so that you have all the information correctly. Let me start with, the meeting took place on Monday, May 22nd here at City Hall. Present were City Manager Andy Jocelyn, Councilman Pete Crisp, Community Development Office Josh Flores, Office of Grants and Financing Barbara Reeves, and we had Anna Signs here representing Guarantee Title, who is a new business downtown. We met with Southwest Texas Border Small Business Development Center from the UTSA Institute for Economic Development, who covers 79 counties. So basically from San Antonio West and all the way down. The Rural Business Program, which is also known as Texas Rural Challenge, is here to help businesses and help rural communities that are in a situation such as ourselves that might need help with any of our projects. I would like to add that they are also the ones that are responsible for helping Kingsville right now with their downtown revitalization. We met with Paul Herrera, who is the project manager. We had a conference call, and Dr. Tangum, who is with the Center of Urban and Regional Planning at the Institute of Economic Development, was on the call, and Mr. Bert Moyer, who is the lead architect. We asked about cost because that was on everybody's mind. So what they are proposing is that we have a master plan that was implemented about 15 years ago, or developed. It wasn't implemented. I did send the PDF of this master plan to this architect. They looked over what we had and felt that it was a bit outdated, which I figured that they would. They have some ideas that they would like to propose, but at the same time, if we go through with this program, they would come down and do, extensive research. We are sending them maps right now. We're sending them photos, and we're sending them anything that we have as far as plans that might help them with this. They would come down and they would go ahead and have of course, a SWOT analysis, like all programs or projects, and they would include the community leaders and business owners and such for this. They would also like to see what our government and cultural background analysis would be, where our people are spending their money or people driving through town, and a shopping list of what we think we could use or what we feel would really just be an asset to our downtown if we included it. We would build off the old master plan, and they would actually create a drone video. So actually do a before and after of what our downtown looks like, and an after, kind of a virtual reality video of what it could possibly look like. We have also let them know that we would like more of a pedestrian-friendly downtown, to possibly bring in some eateries, and we do have a lot of children at Amy's Dance and Mr. Molina's Gymnastics, our yogurt place. So we feel that something that's a little more pedestrian friendly in the design would probably help be a little safer for our community and our children. I would like to say that I know our Economic Development Council is working very hard in trying to entice industry, trying to entice manufacturing companies to come in. But we need to keep in mind that they need a labor force. They need a labor shed and employees. And in order to have that, we need to have a community that is welcoming, and we need to have a good quality of life for them to want to live here and build their homes and their families here. And in order to do that, I believe that it starts with the heart of the hub, which is our downtown. When you tour the community, you want to see a vibrant, nice-looking downtown. All of you, I'm sure, travel outside of Jim Wells County, and you go look for those Fredericksburgs and those Greens and those areas that have a nice downtown where you can enjoy yourself. And that is the vision that we see, that we want to bring to Alice, to give the people a sense of pride and just to kind of give us some more ownership and something to let the world know that Alice is here. We're proud of what we have. Come see what we have and enjoy it. So I will continue to update the council. We are looking at about a $30,000 to $40,000 cost just for this architect and this institute to come in and develop this new master plan. But I will tell you, with the Rural Challenge Program, they have said that they can help us with $15,000 to $25,000 of that. And in a conversation with Mr. Herrera about an hour ago, he did confirm that the Rural Challenge will try to get us the most amount of money. They understand our dire financial situation, and they want to help revitalize our downtown. So if you have any questions, I can answer those now.
Thank you. Actually, we're not going to do a Q&A, so
Okay.
we can proceed. But thank
All
you
right,
so much.
thank you all so much.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 6, presentation from City Attorney David Taller to the City Council of discussion draft of rules of order for City Council meetings. Again, this is just a presentation.
Correct. And I, Mayor, if I may,
Yes, sir.
Same thing. David?
Thank you, sir.
this is simply a draft for discussion purposes for you to take home, review at your leisure. We will bring it back on for action at a later time. But it's something that we've been working on for a while. Councilman Crisp had brought this up before, and we'd like to move forward with it after you've had a chance to review this draft. And this is nothing but a draft by me for discussion only. You're free to do anything you want to with it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 7, consider and act upon approval of minutes for the meetings of October 13th, 2016, October 21st, 2016, October 27th, 2016, November 16th, 2016, January 12th, 2017, January 26th, 2017, January 28th, 2017, and February 23rd, 2017. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
And Mayor, I have confirmed by reviewing our charter. I know that the only councilman here was Councilman Crisp. If Councilman Crisp can make a motion to approve them, any councilman may second, and by seconding it, they're not saying they're in favor of it, they're simply saying they want to bring it on for a vote. If councilmen that were not here, or councilwomen who were not here for these, if they want to abstain, they may do that. And under our charter, it would be counted as voting with the majority. So, again, if only Councilman Crisp votes, any abstaining councilman will be counted as voting with the majority, and which would be that. So, I know that the others were not here and may not want to actually make a vote, although they can.
Correct.
Those were public meetings, and any council person can vote on it.
Thank you, Mr. Towler. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Pete. Can I get a second?
Okay.
Discussion?
Oh, well, after the second, there can be discussion, yes.
I make a second.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Moran. And now,
Now it's open for
yes,
deliberation.
open for discussion. Ms. Carrasco, you have anything to say?
No, at this time.
Ms. Garza?
I don't think so, because this is a long procedure that we weren't even here at that time.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Crisp?
For review, look good.
Ms. Moran?
Yes. This is the question that I need to address to Mr. Towler.
Yes.
In these minutes, can you tell us the reason why we have all these minutes being presented to us, a new council who was not here and is not informed as to what some of these city
Items.
council meetings were? Can you tell us what happened here?
It's a staff issue. Previously, the member of the staff that was responsible for this was Renee Marshall. The city clerk is responsible for preparing the minutes. And my assumption is she was snowed under with other work that needed to be done. And they simply, we had one one of these meetings, not these, December 14th, we had a meeting, and there were some items out of that that we needed to get an agenda, the minutes approved. Those were approved for December 14th, but the rest of them, apparently there was no urgent need to get them up for approval, and they just weren't. This gets us through February 23rd, but we've had meetings since then that we're trying to get the minutes prepared and up for approval. And we will be facing the same situation where it will be minutes of meetings that occurred before 3 of the 4 councilmen
I
started
just have
serving.
2 other questions, and then I'll give them. Is it my understanding that on April 27th of this year, these meetings were scheduled on the agenda to be approved, but we had no quorum at that time?
That is correct. The meetings were part of that agenda, yes, ma'am.
And they were not.
There wasn't a meeting, so they couldn't be approved by the prior
Okay.
council.
And finally, in my discussion with you, I understand that there is perhaps one of the meetings that was held that we need to possibly consider accepting the minutes. Is it for a bond or a certificate of obligation that we would need to have that approved to present to the bank?
Well, I'm not sure which
Do we
in
know which
here,
one it is?
But in order to memorialize any of the actions taken, I'm not sure whether we have a bond issue in this one. The clerk may be able to help you with that.
I understand from Ms. Diane that the October 13th, 2016 meeting is, there is a discuss and approve an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a City of Alice, Texas general obligation refunding bond.
Yep, that's
Is
correct.
that the minutes that?
Yes. And
Can I
looking at-
amend the motion
If.
that's made, or do we take a vote on that motion?
Actually, the motion's on the floor, you would need consent of Mr. Crisp, who made the motion, if you want to amend it.
I need his consent?
Yes.
It's his motion that's on the
Okay.
floor for consideration right now.
Can
Correct.
we bring us an amended motion if
If
this
you
one
want to
dies?
state the amendment, he may well agree to it.
Well, I'd like to state a motion that we not adopt the minutes with the exception of the October 13th, 2016, because this is the one that is of critical importance. And reason being is that this is a new council. We weren't here. And it would be very difficult for me to adopt minutes that I was not a part of. So with the exception of the October 13th, 2016 meeting, I make a motion that we adopt on
And
it.
again, Councilman Crisp, if he wants to accept that amendment, he may do so, or if he doesn't accept the amendment, then we'll have a vote on Councilman Crisp's motion, and if it's a negative vote, then
None of them get
we
it.
can have a new motion
Oh,
to
okay.
approve minutes. Right.
Mr. Crisp, at this time, would you like
That's fine, I accept the.
the
Okay.
amendment?
Then and since you're the one, Councilman, that made the second, then it doesn't need a new second as amended. But the amended motion would be to approve October 13th. And again, everyone, if they would like, may abstain. Councilman Crisp was here.
And just for clarification, the motion is being made because this is some bonds, general obligation bond series that were levied for an ad valorem tax to secure payment. Correct?
Mr. Crisp, you have the floor.
I actually have an issue too now with the way you're stating this about having to have been here.
No, I'm not saying you have to have been here.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I wasn't here when
Right.
this meeting took
Oh,
place, but.
okay. And
That's what-
again, any of the council may vote Even if they
good.
weren't here. These were public meetings that they would have had a chance to view from the audience had they wanted to, or we have videos that they can
What's here
watch
for this?
to determine whether the minutes accurately reflect the actions taken.
Right.
I'm not saying they can't vote on it, but they may choose to abstain. And if they do choose to abstain, they will be treated as voting with the majority.
Okay.
So the amended motion is to only approve October 13th, and the remainder, and that's the amended motion that's up for consideration and vote.
Okay, so at this time, all in favor, say aye of the amended motion.
Aye.
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 Any opposed, nay?
Or abstentions?
Or abstentions? Okay,
Okay.
so the ayes have it on the amended motion.
Mayor, if I may address the council, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand your concerns, and Mr. Jocelyn and I have had discussions. As you all know, I was appointed to this position in late February, so we are working on catching everything up, and the plan of action is to bring at the second regular scheduled meeting of each month the minutes from the month before. And we're going to be working very hard at obtaining that goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diana.
And Mayor, I'll review the rest of these and see if there's any other reason. Some of these, there's a zoning change that we made. I believe we may have actually signed a written ordinance on that, and we don't necessarily need the minutes. But I will review these and see if there's any others that need to be brought back in front of the council, such as we did on the bond. And we'll come back on those.
Thank you, Mr. Teller. Okay, at this time, moving on to agenda item number 8. Consider and act upon amending the February 23rd, 2017 resolution to include the grant application number 2965803, and to include the specific project name, continue sustaining capabilities, authorizing the submittal of a state homeland security program application for radios for the fire department, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, that the city will return all funds to the Homeland Security Grants Division of the Governor's Office, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official and authorizing him to accept, reject, alter, or terminate a grant on the behalf of the city. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
We have Ms. Barbara who'd like to
You'd like to speak? Sorry, Ms.
Good evening,
Barbara.
Mayor and Council.
Yes, ma'am.
In February, we submitted our Homeland Security Grant application for radios for the fire department. March 20th of this year, all applications were evaluated by the Coastal Bend Homeland Security Scoring Committee, which then forwarded its recommendations to the state. April 18th, we received the state's preliminary review report, and tonight have 2 housekeeping items to address in the amending resolution, which we'll then submit to the state.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. Mr. Van Nest, do you have something to add?
Unless you have a question for me.
Okay. Council, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mayor, I make a motion to allow for the additions and of the application number and the specific project name to be altered on the resolution as directed.
Thank you, Mr. Crisp. Can I get a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Ms. Carrasco. Okay, at this time, is there any discussion?
I have some questions.
Ms. Moran, you have the floor.
So, Ms. Reeves, Chief Van Ness, by the way, let's see. Thank y'all for presenting this. The housekeeping things, what happened here? This is not the first time we submit these, correct?
No, this is not the first time.
So
but-
what happened?
But
They changed the guidelines
So-
after we submitted.
Okay, so
They-
the guidelines were changed after the grant
Right.
application was
Right.
submitted?
right.
Okay.
So unfortunately, the state administrative agency who does this has a tendency to sometimes change the rules
Okay.
when we think we've got it figured out, they like to change the rules on us to challenge us a little bit, but nothing that we can't work through.
previous funding cycles, we didn't have to put the application number on the resolution, and we just said radios for the fire department, and the state accepted those.
Thank you. Mr. Crisp, you have any? Ms. Garza?
No.
Ms. Carrasco? Okay. At this time, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
On agenda item number 8. Thank you. Next, agenda item number 9, consider and act upon A, accepting a proposal to develop and prepare a hazard mitigation action plan for the city and county, and B, authorizing the city manager to work with the county judge in negotiating and executing a contract with a proposer in response to RFP, and C, setting a maximum amount for the contract. So at this time, I will, are you going to speak on this behalf? Mr.
Mayor and
Bennett?
council, we're bringing before you a requirement to develop a hazard mitigation plan for the city and the county. Used to be that we were under the regional plan, and the state has changed it to where no more than 2 counties or 2 entities can be under a single plan. So we have partnered with Jim Wells County to develop a plan for Alice and Jim Wells County. So back in July of 2015, we made an application, and I lost my date of when we were awarded, but we've been awarded, and we've gone through the RFP process, and the RFP come in, and we've come in with a recommendation to proceed with our selected company, which of course is GrantWorks. They have the experience and the pricing to do the job.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Anybody else want to speak on this behalf? No? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion at this time on agenda item number 9.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is this GrantWorks Inc. from?
They are based in Austin.
In Austin?
Austin.
And we need a motion before we go into discussion, please, to keep order. Can I get a motion on agenda item number 9?
Just to be clear, Mr. Towler, this is a 3-part motion?
This,
Correct.
if it can be made as a 3-part motion, if we want to take up A first, then B, then C, it could be made as a combined.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the proposal for the hazard mitigation while authorizing the city manager to work with the county judge in negotiating and executing the contract and setting the maximum amount to, is that the 48,750 that is proposed? Is
That's
that
correct.
48,750.
There is a match to that, and the city and the county are splitting that 50/50.
Perfect. So at this time, I'll take a second to Mr. Crisp's motion.
I second that.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Okay, at this time, if there's discussion, we can take it at this time. Ms. Carrasco, you have the floor.
We currently we did not have a mitigation plan in place?
No,
or-
we do have a
Okay.
plan. We are currently under the Coastal Bend Council Government's regional plan, which includes all 11 counties in the Coastal Bend region. We have to have a new one in place before that plan expires in a year and a half.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carrasco. Ms. Garza, question at this time?
No.
Okay. Mr. Crisp?
None.
Ms. Moran?
I have some questions regarding the financial or fiscal impact of this grant and which fund it's going to impact. It's not real, by the way, first of all, I'd like to thank you for this agenda item. I really love the format. I would like to see more of these. It's really detailed, and it tells us how much it's going to cost the county. However, I'm not real clear on the numbers. What I want to know is what is the total cost to the city? This appears to be a joint application with the Jim Wells County. Is that correct?
Yeah. The match,
Total match.
the total match is $16,497.
Is that the city's cost?
No,
that's
that's
the
50,
total.
that's
Total. So then we're going to do
50/50,
50/50. So we're looking at perhaps 82/48,
something like that.
something más o menos?
Yeah.
Okay, for our share. And out of which fund, and is this budgeted?
I can't answer out of which fund and which fund.
The Homeland Security grant usually has its own fund, but when a cost, it'll come from the general fund.
So we didn't set aside monies in the chief's budget for this grant?
I believe, Barbara, you did mention it last year, correct?
I'm looking through here. Before we applied, we checked with finance back in 2015, what was available if we had the match, and we did. And I'm looking to see if we indicated which fund it came out of.
I'll have to double check that off the top of my head, I don't remember, but I know she usually has a list of all her grants and their matches that are,
Yes, we submit that during the budget process, so we had it, but I don't have the fund number.
So this is going to impact the general fund, and it wasn't set aside in the,
In 2015,
I'm talking about this one.
As far as I know, it's going to impact the general fund and not the fire department.
And did we budget for this share?
I'll have to double check off the top of my head, I don't.
Okay.
But I'm sure, like I said, Barbara's usually very on top of.
I appreciate that, Barbara.
Sure, and we try, every budget cycle, we try to identify what pending grant applications do we have that require match, what current grants we have that require match, so during the budget cycle, we can
Yeah.
set aside those funds.
Exactly. And that is good
Absolutely.
accounting practice principles.
But I'll work with Vanessa, we'll double check that. And
Thank you.
the match can also be in kind.
That was my next question.
So, Dean, Rudy, Lynn Kirchhoff, me, some of Mr. Jocelyn's time, some of the county judge's time can count as in-kind. We
Yes,
have
ma'am.
timesheets that we're keeping.
Yes, I'm aware of the in-kind contributions that most grants allow for.
Okay.
So we're trying to do
Okay.
as much in-kind.
Yeah,
as
if we can
can.
do the in-kind and not impact our actual monies, that would be awesome.
Thank you, Ms.
We're
Moran.
we're trying our best.
I appreciate that. I know.
We know.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you
And I
very
do
much.
appreciate the detailed.
At this time, we'll go ahead and take a vote on agenda item number 9. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item number 10. Here's status report on April 2017 month ending financial statements and summary of funds, and answer inquiries from the council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to start again with the financials, and we can go ahead and start on page 3 for the general fund. Let me wait until it pulls up. Okay, I'll start again with the revenues. Total year-to-date, revenue collected is $6,933,433. This shows that we have collected 62.63% of the budgeted $11,070,786. I'd like to touch base on the two main revenue sources for the general fund, which are your property taxes and your sales tax. Year-to-date property taxes collected for the general fund is $2,352,242. Please keep in mind that the property taxes collected from the appraisal district
gets split between maintenance and operation, which is sometimes referred to as M&O, which goes into our general fund, and interest and sinking, which is sometimes referred to as INS, and that goes into our debt service fund to make our bond payments. I wanted to go over, or would y'all like for us to show the chart again for the property taxes? I would like to see it.
Go ahead.
Okay, if you have it.
Can you
Yeah,
make that? Can you guys see that?
I can't.
No? Can we get it more clarified, or?
Zoom a little.
There you go.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay.
Okay, now this chart will show, the total levy for
What
2000.
page are you?
It's at the end of your financials.
Oh. Go ahead.
Tab 10. Okay. Next time I'll have them labeled, I'm sorry, it was
Yeah.
kind of.
Okay, that's fine.
It's very easy to read.
Yeah,
It's
good.
Okay, this will show the total levy for 2017 and 2016 for comparison, and what has been collected each month dollar-wise and percentage-wise. I don't know if y'all have any questions on this chart.
This looks like we're on target.
No, we're actually behind.
Yeah.
It's a
No?
little,
We're
It's a
about,
little bit
little bit.
behind.
about 400.
But Mr. Vela did mention that since the taxes did go up, the money may just come in a little bit slower than usual.
The chart says differently.
Yeah, we're about 3% behind.
Another thing that I provided for
Scroll
your
a little bit more. Sorry, scroll a little bit more so you can show them the April, so that everybody can see the April there. There's our final numbers there.
That's where I wanted to say.
89%.
9%.
Versus 92.
Okay, that's not too bad. But we did budget very conservatively for this property tax, did we not?
Well, we did actually, for the total levy, we did actually do 100%, so we'll probably adjust that at revised.
We budgeted 100.
yes.
Well,
Another item that I also included is from the Jim Wells County Appraisal District, and this is just for your reference. We do receive this report each month, and it does break down the collections for this year and prior years to show what we have received and any balances that are still owed on prior years. And I thought this was just something good to show y'all for y'all's information. Thank you, Vanessa. Okay. Now back to the revenues on the sales tax. Year-to-date, the city has collected $2,560,578. This is less the April sales tax payment, since we will not receive that until June. I wanted to remind y'all that there is a 2-month lag time from when the state receives the money and when they distribute to the city. For example, we just received payment in May of $507,548, but this reflects the sales tax for the month of March. If you look behind your financials, we did include 2 charts on the sales tax. There's one titled Fiscal Year 2017 Budget versus Actual, and this will show you what was budgeted each month, which we budgeted $429,000, and what has been collected for each month. It will show the difference in dollars and percentage. And for the budget versus what was budgeted, there's a difference of about $13,422, and percentage-wise, it's about 1%.
I'm going to ask a quick question. This is one that, just for clarification, I've asked this question before, but it's just one to get out there, is you said that we received this in May for March.
Yes.
Now, is that purchases that were made throughout the community in March, or were they actually made in February? Because as a business owner, you don't pay your taxes until the month's over to the state. So I'm trying to reflect the idea that we hit $507,000 in March, which I'm thinking is probably February, which is Valentine's Day, which people buy more locally because they're getting it and taking it home to the wives or cooking dinner for them or what have you, significant others. So that's what I'm just trying to figure out, if it's paid by the businesses to the state in the month of March, and then we receive it in May for purchases that were actually made the prior month.
I'll have to double check because usually it'll just tell us March. Like it'll just tell us the month. It doesn't actually state like these were the
Okay,
sales for that month or this is the month that they collected it. So I'll have to verify that and
Okay.
I will get back to you.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then the next chart that we have is a comparison of fiscal year 2017 and 2016. This also shows the difference in dollars and percentages per month with a graph also. Do y'all have any questions on this chart? Okay. I'll go back to the financials now. Okay, departments should have expensed 58.31% of their budgets. The departments that have gone over their budgets will be bolded and explanations for each is listed at the bottom of the page. This will be the same on all of the funds. I can highlight some of the departments that were over really quick. City clerk department was over budget, but this is just due to the transitioning of the HR manager into the new city clerk position. Administration is a little bit over, and it was mainly due to travel, but this was a required investment training that was attended by the city manager. General service is also over. This is due to some advertisements and the TML insurance for the year that was actually paid in October. Finance is over, and this is due to once-a-year payment to our software and for some contract labor that has almost been fully expensed. IT is also over. This is due to storage and backup and license renewals, and these are all once-a-year payments. Fire is over. This is due to licenses and certifications and also overtime. The police department is also over. Most of this was due to overtime, but I did want to mention that for the police department, up to $100,000 will get reimbursed to the city through their Border Star grant. Garage is slightly over, and this is just due to some stormwater pollution quarterly inspections. Parks is over also, and this is due to a once-a-year lease purchase payment for a mower that was paid back in December. Library is also over, and this is just due to their library software already being paid, and that is also once-a-year payment. Our interfund transfers is over also, and 29,000 of that was transferred to the golf course, and about 51,000 was transferred to the benefits trust fund to cover any vacancies. General fund for the month, or through the month ending April 30th, does show a deficit of $157,734, but please keep in mind that this is less the April sales tax payment. Do I have any questions on general fund?
Yeah, going back to miscellaneous revenue, it looks like we're over about 105,000.
Yes. The miscellaneous revenue, we did receive the payment from for the settlement from TML for the hailstorm, and that check was in the amount of $185,000, and that was not a budgeted revenue.
source.
What about the properties that we put up for sale? Where will they fall into the general fund once they sell? Do they
I
fall
believe
under
actually it might be
miscellaneous also?
under miscellaneous, yes. Miscellaneous is just a category. There's several items under it.
Okay.
One of the things, Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to go over quickly to assist Miss Vanessa is we go line by line on those departments, but we look at it as a whole. She's stating how she divides her budget on a 12-month pieces, for lack of better words. We've got, on the revenues, we are at 62, which is over the 52, so we've got more revenues in there. And then the expenditures are just slightly over that. So we've got to take that into account, how how municipal government budgeting works. So that's one of the things that we look at. Each of the departments under the general fund continuously look at their budgets to ensure that they stay in those areas. And like she stated, we've had transition in our city clerk, that's why she's over budget. On the same note, the HR side will have
They're
under budget, so because of those three things, so.
And then just another thing that we need to keep in mind is the fact that property tax, as stated here, we've already received 88% of it. So the remaining 400,000, 500,000 that we may get for the rest of the year is it in property tax. So that number will not continue to grow the way it has for the last 7 months. So the fact that we're at 62% is still is a very scary thing, because next month we won't have another $1 million jump. So we just need to also keep that in
Yeah,
mind
we've
as we
got
move
to be
forward.
cognizant of that, and we continuously stay in contact with Mr. Vela at the appraisal office. He's the one that let us know the change in the tax rate. Of course, people will pay later, and we will continue to see revenue when we haven't seen revenue go all the way up to September that we received. So
But it'll trickle in.
it'll trickle in.
It'll
yes.
trickle in.
Where are we on the percentage on the property tax collected?
It says
And I know it may not reflect on this budget here because we're
We
moving forward,
received
but
2 more checks, since these were prepared, and what did it bring us up to?
It was at 91%.
91%, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Ms. Moran?
Yes. The overtime for fire and police, are these budgeted? Do we have these amounts budgeted?
Yes, they are, and there was amounts budgeted for them.
And why do we have we're at 67, no, I'm sorry, for the golf course, we're doing a transfer to that already?
That was a budgeted transfer, so we basically, whatever we budgeted for the year, which I think was 50,000, we just divided by 12, and each month we do a transfer.
And what is that transfer for?
To help the golf course fund.
Okay, I'm not very clear on that. To help the golf course, what does that mean?
Well, I believe it was,
Because they're showing, if you look at the statement of revenue and expenditures on page 7, if you'll go to that.
I was going to go through each fund.
Oh,
if
you're
you
going to
want.
go through each
Yes.
one? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just asking if there was any questions
okay,
on general.
no,
I'm
go
sorry.
with-
I'll move quicker. Okay. Solid Waste Fund, year-to-date revenue is $1,721,762. This brings that department, or that fund, to 50.12% of their budget. Year-to-date expenses are $1,600,829. The total expenses for solid waste are at 56.52%. With that, the solid waste fund does have an excess of revenue over expenditures of $120,933. On this fund, the sanitation department does appear to be slightly over, but this is just also due to TML payments, which are once-a-year payments, and also lease purchase payments for 3 garbage trucks. So these are, big-size payments done in December. Any questions for solid waste fund?
Any questions, Council?
TML payment, what is that for?
The liability property insurance. And we usually pay it in October, and we receive a small discount.
Any other questions? Okay, we can move on.
Okay. Okay, on the utility fund, year-to-date revenue recorded is $4,354,244, bringing the revenue recorded at 54.9%. Total utility fund expenses are at $4,057,618, and this brings the total expenses to 57.13%. Year-to-date, the utility fund does have an excess of $296,626. I can briefly go over, there was three that were slightly over, three departments. The utility general service, that one was over, but that was also due to the TML payment. Maintenance and construction is over also, but this was due to the lease purchase payment for the jetback truck and some registration and training. And the interfund transfers is also slightly over, and this was to the benefits trust fund to cover some vacancies. And also there was a transfer to the debt service, but that was just a once-a-year transfer to make the payment in February. So it shows that that line item is like at 100%. Any questions for utility fund?
Yeah, just for clarification, go ahead and tell us, we show just under $1.5 million of interfund transfers leaving that fund. Can you clarify what the largest portion of that's for?
There is each month, 100,000 is transferred to the general fund. Also, I didn't mention the solid waste also transfers about 30,000 every month to the general fund.
Thank you.
Okay. The airport fund can be found on page 6. Airport revenue received is $41,051, and the expenses are at $56,591. The total revenue percentage is at 30.78%, and total expenses are at 34.10%, which does give the airport fund a loss of $15,540.
Any questions, council? Nope. Moving on. Next one.
Okay, now we're on the golf course fund. Year-to-date, the golf course has received $195,691 in revenue. $29,167 is a transfer from the general fund. This is a budgeted transfer. The revenue for the golf course fund is at 52.85%. Year-to-date expenses are at $217,471. The golf course has a year-to-date loss of $21,780. Without the general fund's contribution, the golf course's loss would actually be at $50,947.
I'm sorry, how much?
$50,947.
And that's without the,
If the general fund was not contributing to the golf course fund, there would be a loss of $50,947.
do we have a year to date for the last 10 years on how much we've contributed to supplement the loss at the golf course?
I can get that for you at the next meeting. I don't have that on.
Okay.
And Vanessa, that's divided, 50,947, divided into how many months?
That would be the 7 months. That
7
would
months.
be through April. Mhm.
7 months. So safely like 7,278. Thank you. Okay. No questions? Let's move on.
Okay, on the natatorium can be found on page 8. The year-to-date revenue is $40,741. This shows that we've collected 12.5% of the total budgeted revenue. Year-to-date expenses are at $193,739. This means that we have expensed 85.09% of the budget. This does reflect budget amendments, though, that were made in January. The year-to-date loss for the natatorium is $152,998.
Questions, Ms. Moran?
Yes. Was this because some of these expenses were carried over?
No, usually.
Talk to me about how did we arrive at the $152,998 in over expenditures? What's
So
the
do you-
breakdown?
On the expenses,
Mhm.
that would be your salaries, your, what else, let me think. We had to pay for electricity every month, even though, you know, we still need to keep it
So
going.
we have an expense with a pool that's closed right now.
That's
Okay,
correct.
if we can stick to the questions of the budget,
Okay.
please. Okay, any other questions? No, okay, moving on. Hotel occupancy tax fund?
Okay, the hotel motel revenue received is $50,242. Total revenue collected is at 18.49%. These taxes are paid to the city quarterly, so this is reflecting 1 quarter's worth of payments and a few for the second quarter, since payment is actually due May 1st. Hotel Motel has expensed $166,822, or 104% of their budget. Usually, the only item budgeted is the monthly payment to the Chamber of Commerce. So since money was spent on other items this year, it appears that we're over budget. But this was something that we were going to bring for budget amendments last time. So year-to-date, the hotel motel occupancy tax fund shows a loss of $116,580.
Okay, any questions? No, okay, let's move on.
Okay, the Golf Course Improvement Fund. This fund was requested by previous council. I can continue to present this fund if you like. This is this is a capital improvement fund, and this revenue is earned from a percentage of the green fees for any future projects or equipment. Year-to-date, the Golf Course Improvement Fund has received $19,048 in revenue for the year, and they've had no expenses.
I have a quirky little question. What's the $1 miscellaneous there?
Interest.
Okay, I figured that was it, but I thought I'd ask.
Any other questions? No, moving on.
Okay. Debt service can be found on page 11. Revenue received is $2,070,961, and this is the money that that the city receives from the Jim Wells County Appraisal District for the property taxes collected. Total expenses are $1,698,297. Debt service payments were made at the end of January. These first payments included principal and interest totaling $1,696,696. The second payment for the year will be due in July and will only include interest. The payment will be $376,662. To date, debt service has an excess of revenue of $372,664.
What did you say the payment was?
I know, it's crazy. That we made already?
No, the one that's due.
Oh, $376,662. Because the second payment is only interest.
And we only have to make one payment, correct? The first payment,
One
and
more.
then, yeah, and that's it.
It's usually due February 1st and I believe August 1st.
So we have the principal and interest
The first.
initial, and then we have an interest only, and then we start over again. Okay, good. So we're close. Good.
Okay, moving on.
There are a couple of comments she's done with her presentation, and I know the council has, or will have more questions in regards to the budget. One of the things that we touched on was a budget amendment that we need to do that was supposed to have been done. No meeting, no budget amendment on addressing the stuff with the hotel motel tax. That's an area that we've talked about, how much is in the reserves, 3 million plus, and what we need to do with that. So that's gonna be an option for the council to look at. Another option is the monies in the reserve on the debt service side that we're gonna visit with our financial advisor and Mr. Vela, of how this council can utilize that to benefit the citizens of Alice better, is that money can't just sit there. If we can utilize that when we're calculating our tax rate, then that's gonna be a benefit to everybody. So something that we're looking at. Another thing that we'll bring forward is our landfill and our solid waste. There's fees in there that keep they're set aside for future projects, as we know, for the sales and upgrades. Well, that's building up while we're still having some financial issues. So that may be an option that we can look at to say, do we stop collecting those fees and putting them in the bank, or can we address some of the issues that we've got financially? So those are just options that will be brought forward. We spoke with our financial advisor today. We recommend, and at the council's will, that we have a financial update, not necessarily a budget, but a financial update from her in a workshop setting, so you can actually get detailed information of where we were, where we are, and where we're headed if we make certain decisions. So I know that's the council's wish, and we did speak with her, so if we can get a date with our city clerk as quick as possible, I think that's beneficial for you to make your decision.
Thank you.
Any other questions or?
Mayor, I have a
Go ahead, Ms.
question.
Cynthia.
I wanted to ask you, I noticed a lot, and forgive me because finances, it's fairly new as far as municipalities. The intra funds that we transfer to balance, to make something that, we're transferring into an account from, let me know if I'm correct, from the utilities fund or the solid waste fund to make it a balance?
No,
or to be able to make a payment? Or?
No, there's a transfer from the utility fund and the solid waste fund, and that transfer is paying kind of like your general fund for administrative costs, you know, for finance doing their stuff, for payroll, for the city clerk doing, you know, any items, putting them on the agenda for, you know, that department, for HR, for the parks going and mowing their water plants, their, you know, just, it's like an or a cost to pay the general fund for the departments that help out those, departments in those funds.
We also do that with our Alice Water Authority, which we provide personnel to. They don't have employees, but the general fund carries those employees, the salaries, benefits, whatnot, accounting, engineering, myself, anybody that assists with their program. So a percentage of that comes to cover. It's the same thing for utility fund or solid waste, because although they do have their employees that are at the utility billing office and the meter readers, we do the finances, we do the managing, we do whatnot, so it's a cost sharing. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Another
you.
clarification, sorry, is in that same interfund transfers, can you explain what the benefits and vacancies transfers are, for clarification also?
Yes, do you want to explain, Diana? Sure. She does it so much better.
Yes.
Our city is structured, our insurance plan, medical and dental, life and vision, medical especially, is structured as a self-funded plan. So we have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that every year we are funding enough to cover not only the expenses, but any claims that will arise. We carry the insurance, and we actually take out insurance instead of paying Humana or Blue Cross Blue Shield or a company such as that. We are the insurance carrier. When we fund these at the beginning of the year, we are funding it based on the number of positions we are anticipating to budget. Because of that, if a vacancy is in a position because someone isn't there, we, for example, at the natatorium had budgeted for full-time positions that were since then removed from the budget. That's all taken into the funding at the beginning of the year. So essentially, for every department, every month, we determine their portion of that cost, and as we're closing the books for the month, we determine what needs to be transferred from each appropriate fund into that trust fund to ensure that we're funded correctly. Did I lose you? We good?
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Hennessy.
you.
Melissa. Thank you all very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 11. Here, presentation from Joshua Flores, Community Development Director, relating to opening scenarios for the City of Alice Multi-Use Complex. And A, consider and discuss sustainability of the City of Alice Multi-Use Complex, taking into account available funds, investment, profit margins, fees, community support, marketability. And 11B, consider and act upon recommendations for council consideration directing the future operations of the Alice Multi-Use Complex as to potential seasonal or other operating scenarios, including directing or authorizing the city manager to open the Alice Multi-Use Complex, setting conditions of operations, and amending the budget to account for revenues and authorize expenditures for the Multi-Use Complex Fund. And 11C, consider and act upon authorizing the city manager to negotiate lease agreements between the City of Alice and the Alice Swim Team for the use of the natatorium. So at this time, we would like to hear
Good
the
evening, Mayor and
presentation.
Council. Joining me will be Taylor Johnson. He's the operator of the aquatics facility. And also Vanessa Rivera will be helping me with some of the slides as we go through the spreadsheets. I also do have attachments as well if you want to follow along with those and these to supplement your packets. And then we'll begin talking about the varying proposals. Proposals will include per hours pricing, as well as seasonal operations for the facility. There's a few different options for council.
Blueprint printer, paper this big to see these numbers.
And the ledgers that you have with you will help supplement the information we'll be providing on the proposals, council. And we'll begin with proposal number 1, Vanessa. Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Mayor, council, how are y'all this evening? All right, we'd like to start with proposal number 1. We are presenting multiple proposals to y'all for y'all's consideration, 4 in total. We'll go through each of those, go through the line items, and hold questions till the end for all the proposals. But if you have questions, do feel free to ask. Proposal number 1, we're going to start with salaries and wages. These are calculated for an aquatics facility manager. Then we're going down to overtime and seasonal wages. The seasonal wages, this one will vary from other proposals due to having 13 lifeguards at 30 hours per week. Other proposals will have 11, but we chose this option because it would be a Tuesday through Sunday opening.
Okay, each proposal, council, will vary a little bit on the staffing need. Each proposal will vary depending on the hours and the days of operation. This one is from June 1st through September the 30th, and like Mr. Johnson stated, a Tuesday through Sunday operation with Monday the facility being closed, ideally for maintenance. So with this one, it would require, with our estimations, 13 lifeguards at about 30 hours a week, and then aquatics facility manager, which comes to a total that we have for $105,106. Yes, and then the other greatest expenses that we will have on this, for this proposal, is of course gas and electricity at $66,000, and repair and maintenance service, which will be on day-to-day operations to repair anything that may arise with our engines or pumps and anything at the facility, up to $7,000. And then, of course, the insurance, which is $22,500. This proposal in total will be $233,732. And then again, too, we have a revenue proposal, so as we reach the end of this presentation, we'll be able to see what our revenues and what the expenses are projected to be and what we're looking at for each one. On proposal 2.
Can we make these?
So that was 233,000?
Yes, sir.
732. The very guys don't have pointers?
Oh, here we go. It's a little different than
Let's
what's in
start
here.
using those.
Here you go.
Yeah, I was looking at this one, I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
So proposal 2 is from June 1st through Halloween, through October 31st, with the days being Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's open an additional month, but shorter days during the week, with emphasis on the weekends and Thursdays. This again would have the pool manager, and we would have 11 lifeguards at 30 hours a week, also incurring the FICA, employment health care, retirement, and other insurance, workers' compensation as well. Going down to the next area where you see chemicals at 8,400, this would pay for the acid and chlorine that the facility uses, and this is the cost per season. Based on what we've experienced from the past season, this is what we can say is for certain on that. The same again with gas and electric at $69,000, that based on what we paid out the last fiscal year of 2016. And the repair and maintenance service again estimating at $7,000. Again, the insurance, the insurance we have at $22,500. Now, there's a transfer to benefit trust fund that you'll notice on all our proposals, council. And this is based on budget that is for each full-time employee at the facility that's transferred into our benefit fund, that trust. Is there any more details on that, Vanessa, and how this would affect us the next fiscal year?
Actually, Diana just spoke on it just a
Okay.
few minutes ago.
Okay,
So
good.
she gave me a little explanation.
Good, so that reduces the next fiscal year based on us just having the one full-time employee. And again, this proposal ends at $246,728 on estimated expense. Good. Okay, proposal 3 would be from June 1st through September 30th, and Thursday through Sunday. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the staff recommendation.
This is our recommendation for opening up the facility.
On this, we have the pool manager again. We have the 11 lifeguards. And the chemicals stays the same, 8,400. We have bank charges estimated at 3,900. Gas and electric again, over 60,000. Again, the biggest hindrance in the facility is the use of propane versus another form of heating. So that is a liability for us. And after transfers to benefit trust fund, towards the bottom, this is at $229,102. And proposal 4, this is an annual operation scheduled at all week. Vanessa highlighted there the seasonal wages for the peak period, which would be through the summer. She's going to zoom in here in a second. Okay, and then as you can see, the seasonal wages taper off to go into extra help, which is other part-time help during the cooler months, totaling $49,000 and $48,000 respectively. The total personnel costs on this proposal would be $158,678. Again, knowing what we spent before on chemicals, the $8,400 remains. The electric does go up somewhat, $78,005. The insurance also remains the same. And the total expense on this estimate is $301,154. Okay, now together, on this next one, you have the summary of the cost proposal, if we can go there. And we'll also, we're going to be bouncing a little bit because we're also going to be talking about the revenue projection, which is something that Taylor and I worked on with finance department. Here we go.
All right, with these revenue projections for this next upcoming year, we base these off of prior year revenue. We did very well with admissions, as can be seen. We estimated about a $60,000 admissions. With swimming lessons and water aerobics, they were also big hits at the facility. We estimate about $7,500 for each of those. with the meets that we are hoping to host with the swim teams and such, we are projecting about 3,000. The party rentals, 20,000. And with that says season pass, we are projecting about 5,000, depending what our vote is on that, prices, etc. We will move to that here in a minute. We also have a projected cooler fee. Since we would not do concessions at the facility besides the vending machines, we charge a small fee to bring in a cooler. The cabana rentals, we're projecting, we have 3 of those, about $7,200. The movie night reservations, which we have available, we're projecting about 5 of those at bringing in about $1,500. And then the contracts with both the summer swim team and the AAS Day swim team, respectively, $7,740 and $4,050. And I'll let Josh speak on the Chamber of Commerce, $55,000.
Yeah, 55,000 was the kiosk rental.
And then if there was anything eligible to get reimbursed for the hotel motel tax, whenever they have any meets here and they bring anyone to stay overnight, some of the items are eligible to get reimbursed for.
That's one of the things I've expressed issue with in the past is that Chamber of Commerce rental. There's no lease agreement, there's no rental agreement, there was never a negotiation. It just ended up a check last year. So I'd like to really look into that more so as to exactly how that came to be before we really count that as extended revenues.
Okay. Any other comments or questions regarding this?
I have some questions, Mayor. I actually have several questions, but the first 2 that come to mind is, are we discussing a proposed budget for 2017, 2018? Because we currently have an operating budget for 2016, 2017 that we should be using. So what is this?
That budget was
There's the
actually
budget
removed.
amendment that doesn't
In the
have
amendment,
that.
budget
there is no-
removed?
yeah, there is
When
no
was that
budget.
budget removed?
The first budget amendment.
In January of 2017.
Was that made available to us? Was there an
It's on
amendment?
the
Is it on the
financials.
amendments?
Yes, ma'am, in
Okay.
your amendments.
Was it completely removed?
Most of the salaries, I believe, a lot of it was,
Where is that? Do you have that?
it's on your first quarter budget amendment.
Is it the first quarter or second?
I believe it was the first quarter.
So we currently don't have a budget set up for the auditorium. We did not address a budget for the 2016, 2017.
I can't speak to that.
Can you explain? What was your question again? I'm
So-
sorry.
I know a decision was made to close the pool, but when we went into fiscal year 2016, 2017, did we not budget for the multi-use complex?
Yes, we did.
So we have a budget.
Well, with the first budget amendments, the council removed the money that was budgeted for the natatorium and multi-use complex.
And
Where is that?
I was gonna
And-
say, well,
and
where's,
Mr. Johnson?
Vanessa can correct me if I'm wrong. Not all the money was removed. It was,
Okay,
and it was
so-
amended to.
So
but-
what, okay, so how much money is not removed?
Council,
Where
you
can
said
someone-
fund balance, Maura.
No, they
If
have a
you go
negative
to
fund balance.
Agenda item
Sorry.
10,
Okay.
and look at page 8 of 11.
That's what I was just going to.
Do
On-
we have that on?
It's on your financials. On the 2017 budget, this does include any budget amendments that have been approved by council. So the amendment that they recommended brought the budget to $227,676. Through the end of April, they have already expensed $193,739.
So we have a budget.
There's a very small one.
How much
Very
is left? And I think that's Councilwoman's question. Is that
About 27 and 7, about 30-some thousand dollars.
I'm sorry,
About $34,000.
so what would be how is that any different from the golf course budget if they are being supplemented and we just did a fund transfer to supplement them? So why are we not operating with this budget and then make amendments as we go along?
Previous council had asked us not to be doing any transfers to the.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I think she was talking.
The previous council, one of the items was not to be transferring any general fund money.
There's actually a resolution that was put in place back in May, if I'm not mistaken, that stated that no general fund money could be used to fund that multi-use, which is a resolution that we'd have to revoke in order to use the general fund money in order to fund this.
Okay, somebody.
That resolution that was made was effective until we adopted the budget in September for this fiscal
Correct.
year.
Here we go. She found it.
But it did remain in effect until the budget for this fiscal year was adopted.
Oh, okay.
But when we adopted the budget for this fiscal year, we superseded that.
Okay. Well, the idea isn't that we can't supplement at this point. The idea is we have to be presented with what we would have to supplement, and that's what we're doing now.
Okay, so I have thank you, Ms. Diane, you're so helpful.
Vanessa.
Oh,
Vanessa.
Vanessa. I have here, and I apologize to the public that this is not available for you all to see, but there is a budget here with an ending balance of $168,531.86. Now, I am told that we don't know how much of that has been expended as of today, but we do have a budget, and we do not have a resolution that says no transfers from the general fund.
That resolution was superseded right when we
Okay.
adopted this budget. And Councilman Moran, on page 8 of 11, you'll see under the multi-use complex expenditures, that number, and they've actually expended $166,082. That's the operating funds, other than the intergovernmental transfers.
Okay, again, the question is, there is no resolution that says we cannot transfer from the general fund in place.
Correct, but those transfers, when the budget was amended, they were taken out of the revenue.
Okay, that's fine. I
There's
understand
nothing that
that.
says we can't do
Yes.
another budget amendment.
Do what we can do, like what we do with the golf course, the library, and the airport.
Correct.
Correct?
Order, please.
Okay, so,
She's being said this is what's left to say.
okay.
This agenda item tonight does include action on a budget amendment.
Yes.
Yes, I saw that. Okay.
Any more questions on this thing before we move on to the next?
If council doesn't feel comfortable, maybe lack of information or lack of clarity, I mean, I would think that we might make a workshop, if I could recommend that, Mr. Towler. A workshop that would entail just multi-use
Well,
questions.
we talked about, and I believe some council members that expressed that. That was an option that they would like to see is for us to do that.
Because it sounds
I
like
know-
there's not a lot of clarity.
Yes, but I know that the agenda item, if you read it as a whole, will authorize me to at least move forward on the contract with the summer swim team. And up to that extent, I agree with you. You know, if the council wishes to give me the authority to work in conjunction with our legal for the summer swim team contract, we can do that and then set up a budget workshop for a full open.
And I think the budget workshop is part of all the workshops that we're going to have for each of the departments. So that we can probably create, that would be part of the budget workshop for the multi-use complex center
So at
as we
this
go
time-
about our budgets.
I'm sorry, Ms. Moran, excuse me. At this time, Mr. Towler, could we just move on to 11C?
Correct.
And then, with approval of council, set a date for a workshop on just
We can do
multi-use,
that.
not entire budget, but just multi-use.
And I do have, there are basically two issues on the swim team use. One is a potential for a June 3rd
Correct,
event.
absolutely.
The other is a long-term lease governing more than just that one date. I have two separate lease agreements prepared, one of them for just the June 3rd and another one that is more of a long-term. If we don't do something tonight on June 3rd, it won't happen.
It won't happen.
So I have both of those prepared. You may want to take an action tonight on June 3rd just to,
Okay.
while there's time, and then you can look at the other one for a longer-term lease, however you want to do it.
Okay.
But
Now,
that's why the agenda item said agreements, because it gives us the opportunity to do both if we want to.
And in municipal instances like this, what's the difference between a lease and a rental? Because I would think that'd be a one-day rental as opposed to a lease. You know what I mean? So I'd like to authorize the city manager to also enter into any aquatic rental agreements that we have set prices for it that have been set by council of past. So, you know, I don't think the idea of just a lease, but a lease/rental agreement or negotiations would be available for him to start doing too.
Councilman Chris, the difference on that is name only. What is prepared for the June 3rd event, it says lease, but it says from one,
Okay.
a date from hour to hour, and that's it.
Okay.
So it's just- it's-
basically a rental.
It's name only. It's really
Thank
more
you.
like a rental.
Okay.
And then in talking to these lease agreements, the biggest difference is we supply nothing except for an open door. Is that what we're looking at? Because that's the idea of when we lease out, let's say, the baseball fields, correct?
That's
We just open the door, they supply their own umpires. You know, we're not supplying the lifeguards, right?
The one, okay, there's the one that has the list of days on it, that's the long term, that's not the one we're talking about. The other one that doesn't have that, it is set up where we would have one employee out there just to watch over the place, make sure nothing happens. That is our only expense.
Okay. Which is an
We
expense we
open the
basically
door.
carry already.
Right, it's an expense we're already paying whether we do it or don't. But the swim team would provide their own lifeguards. We would pay the electricity, we would provide the pool, but that's the limit of our expense.
Correct.
And we would have Taylor out there just to watch over it and make sure it gets opened up, it gets locked up, and nothing bad happens while they've got it.
Working for the city. not the
Yes.
swim team.
Right, working for the city as an employee. The blanks to fill in is the charge. Previous, when it was Southside, we provided lifeguards, but we charged $50 or $60 an hour. This is not the Southside pool, but anyway, that's on those blanks. The hours, the first set of blanks is just the hours of the day, and we're talking about June 3rd. And my understanding from discussions is we're talking about 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., a 5-hour
Okay.
use of the facility. It is the indoor pool only, not the outdoor pool.
So, are we on
Okay.
A or B?
C.
C.
You're on
What
C.
happened to B?
Idea of a workshop was brought up.
We didn't take any action on B.
No, we didn't.
If you want to, I can make a motion in regards
So
to.
it's a presentation.
In regards to B, is I make a motion that we allow the city manager, in working with the finance director, or not, with the finance department, the community development director, Taylor as well, and any other individuals necessary to set up a workshop in accordance with the budget. Date to be determined once we know when the finance advisor can come in and help us get through that.
Thank you, Mr. Crisp. Can I get a second? And we're discussing 11C.
No, this would be the B.
No.
This is the workshop.
Can I get a second on 11B?
I'd like to make a motion.
I'm sorry,
don't have
I'm
a
sorry,
second.
we're looking for a second. Is there a second? On 11B.
You're proposing a workshop
Yes. Yes. And the ordinance-
before we can open the pool to the
No.
Alice swim team?
No, no, this
No.
is separate. This is just for future operations of it. C would be the idea where we allow our city manager to enter into negotiations for the rental, because it doesn't affect our budget with the exception of revenues.
Correct.
That's the difference. So C will follow up. We just worked on B, and C will make a motion thereafter.
I think my agenda item that I submitted was way more clear than B, so I have to take exception to the way this agenda item was written.
I understand, and we will work with you in the future on that. I apologize for that.
Okay, if we'd like to do, I mean, if we're done with
So
that one,
there's
no
no,
second.
no second. Are we not seconding so that we can move on with rental?
Maybe we can.
No?
Well, we
If-
can
if there's-
clarify.
oh,
My understanding, I can make a motion now.
Well, if the first motion dies for lack of a second, then we're open for more motions, yes,
Okay,
correct.
So,
I'd like to make a motion that we open the pool to allow for us to start generating revenue. And when we say pool, I'm talking about the auditorium only, so that we can start having, school's out. Our kids have no Anderson pool. They have no Boys and Girls Club. They have nothing to do for the summer. We have nothing to offer. This is a quality of life issue in addition to generating revenue. This pool is being operated, but no one's coming inside the doors right now, and we still have that expense. My motion is, let's open the pool.
order, please. Okay, can I get a second?
I second that.
Okay. So discussion on this motion? Mr. Chris?
Yeah, I have, we just talked about having a workshop in order to figure out how to run the facility.
That's
So
for a
we're
budget
opening.
workshop.
No, that's not a budget workshop.
pool.
That is an operations
multi-use
workshop. We
center
have no employees. We don't know how we don't have employees that we need to hire people. We have no cost analysis with the exception of what they presented, and you want to open it, but just a few minutes ago, you wanted to talk about having a workshop, and now you don't want to have the workop.
No, I did not say that, Mr.
No.
Crisp.
Okay, so we're going to open it before we know how we're going to run it.
We have
That doesn't make
budget
sense.
workshop scheduled for the 2017, 2018, where we will discuss a new budget for the multi-use complex center.
This isn't a
We
budget. They
currently-
presented
I
operational.
believe I have the floor, sir.
Okay, go
We
ahead and finish.
currently have a 2016, 2017 budget, and I think we just finished clarifying that that is no different if we have to transfer funds, no different than what we do with the golf course, the library, and the airport. We currently have a budget. The workshop that we have is no different than all the other workshops we are currently going through to prepare ourselves for a 2017, 2018 fiscal year budget.
So, Ms. Moran, we're going to open unprepared like we did the last time and set ourselves up for failure. Right
Well,
now, there's proposals.
Are
we
you
haven't-
calling Ms.
You haven't, I'm not calling
Ms.
anybody
Van Ower? Are you
anything.
saying that our employees are inept and cannot prepare to open a pool?
We don't have
That's
employees.
coming out of your mouth, not mine. But you haven't
Well,
referred
you
to any
just
of the
said that.
proposals, Ms. Moran, that they
We
presented
have
to
a
you.
budget.
Budget and an operational
I
proposal are not
believe
the
I
same.
have the floor, and the motion is, and we had a second.
We're discussing, Ms. Moran. We're in discussion. And that's what this time is for discussion.
I believe I've answered your
Because all you're
questions.
saying is open the pool, but you're not referring to how or what time. I mean, that's why they presented proposals. If you did not pay attention, there's proposals in front of you to refer to.
It was on the news Monday night that we as the council did not know about this. You put it on the news on Channel 3 that the pool was going to be open.
No,
with
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you
It
did.
was for rent. I did the interview, man, and it's for rent. And that has never, people just didn't ask the right questions. I asked the correct question as to, is it available for rental? And it's
No.
been on the website, available for rental.
No.
And that has not
It was on the
changed.
news, and this should have gone before us, before you.
Because I didn't change ordinance
No.
and I didn't change contracts. It is what it is.
No.
So at this point, all I'm trying to clarify is Ms. Moran is just saying, open the pool like we did last time, and we ended up spending $470,000 because there was no plan.
I don't believe that's correct.
Well, that
Ms.
was-
Vanover, we
that
did
was
not
a-
spend $470. And if you're going to make that statement, I would ask that you at least
Well, can you
request,
look
set
at
that
the
up and so
proposals
we can
too?
see it.
Ms. Moran, can you look at the proposals and at
I
least
have,
state
we have a
what you-
budget. I'm strictly going by a budget. So we can go back and forth with this. The motion has been made and it's been second.
to
Would
open
you
the
like to
pool. Just-
continue?
But that's not
Would you
B.
like to continue to discuss this back and
11B.
forth?
Ms. Moran, 11B, consider and act upon recommendations. Order.
Which was not my agenda
I
item.
have the floor. 11B, consider and act upon recommendations for council consideration directing the future operations
Directing future
of the
operations.
Alice Multi-Use Complex as to potential seasonal or other operating scenarios, including directing or authorizing the city manager to open the Alice Multi-Use Complex, setting conditions of operations, and amending the budget to account for revenues and authorize expenditures for the Multi-Use Complex Fund. So you just saying open the pool does not suffice. Agenda item 11B.
Which
Therefore,
died.
out of order.
No, ma'am, that was never seconded.
My motion died.
It
The
died,
item
and that
did not
was your
die.
motion.
His
B
motion
was your
died.
motion, it died. And then I made a new motion, and that's what's on the floor. B, as you just read, died. There was no second, it is dead. I made a new motion, Ms. Vanover.
And was second.
And it was second, so
then
would
we
you like
die
to
on
beat
B.
it? Would you like to beat this agenda item to death? Because B died.
Councilperson Moran, one issue, and what you say is correct. We can budget general fund monies, but as of now, there is no budget for inter-fund transfers. In order to do the inter-fund transfers, we need to do a budget amendment to provide for them.
I will put
That's
that
what
on
we
the
don't
agenda
have.
for the next regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you for the information.
So frivolously open. Okay, so Ms. Moran's motion, we got a second. I'll take a.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
entertain a
your
vote.
comment. What was that? Frivolous?
Very much.
I'll take a vote. All in
They
favor?
call us one by one. I think I'd ask that the mayor call us individually on this, considering we don't have a course of action. So, call it individual.
Okay, I'll take a vote. Ms. Carrasco?
I abstain.
Abstain? Ms. Garza?
Yes.
Mr. Crisp?
Nay.
Ms. Moran?
Yes. Leah, yes, have it?
The motion passes because she abstained, and it goes with the majority.
Would you please call that, Ms.?
Absolutely. Agenda item 11, nothing, because it was gone, is to open the pool, like Ms. Moran wants, just to open the pool.
And would you call it? It passed?
It passed. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I think you were finished.
I still want to make a motion so that the city manager can actually do the stuff that can make us money and enter into lease agreements.
I believe
so
we're going to cover that in C.
Right.
I don't think we have to talk about it anymore.
The
We already
motion
talked about it.
made does not completely dispose of the agenda item, so we are open to further motions and deliberations on this agenda item.
Okay,
Let's see.
so going on to 11C.
I made a motion to allow the city manager to enter into lease/rental agreements
Okay,
as necessary, not limited to the city swim team nor the school, just in general.
okay. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Cynthia. Okay, discussion to allow city manager to negotiate lease agreements between the city of Alice and the Alice swim team, or just any
Yeah.
negotiations? Ms. Carrasco? Anything to say? No? Ms. Garza?
So when will this happen? The opening of the pool?
There was no
This
date.
is logistically and setting up the hiring process. That'll take us some time, but we will expedite with human resource at their earliest convenience to be able to hire. We had advertised in anticipation if we were going to open, so she's got applications. We've got to screen those. The staff has to do their part, and then we've got our human resource where they have to set up for physicals and
Alcohol physicals.
all the process that we've got.
So that would,
We began advertising a few weeks back in anticipation or just to be one step ahead in the event that the decision was made to open the facility. We've received 7 applications from lifeguards. Of those 7, 5 are currently certified, both indoor for the natatorium and outdoor for the water facility. There are 2 additional ones who are certified through the end of June or through July. They'll have to obtain a second certification. We can begin the process of conducting the background check and sending them for drug, alcohol, and physical. It would be, if we rush this and we have cooperation from our facility who helped us last year with getting these young people through, probably anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks.
so that would be by the end of June or early July?
2 to 4 weeks as we get them through. We will push them through, working with the facility that we use to get them through the process. It does take, from the time they visit the facility till we receive the results back, anywhere from 48 to 72 hours. And just depending on the schedules of the individuals and when we can get them through with the doctor's office.
Okay, Dinah, that would be the 13 lifeguards?
No, ma'am, right now we only have 7.
I mean, yes, I know.
For what we have,
But we need 13.
there was no
In-
determination
There was no
made
determination
by
from the
council as
Have
to
no-
how
we
many.
have no
No
operational
direction, no
procedure,
nothing,
So we have no
so-
idea how many we need.
We don't know.
This,
Like
and
20.
this motion was for the indoor pool only,
Just for
not
the indoor,
both.
not
So
not the water
we
park.
will worry about staffing.
She
the
said
outdoor
20,
pool.
so
No,
You did
we
say
don't
that-
know how many, is what I'm trying to clarify to you,
But
because
I'm
you
sure
don't
Mr.
understand.
Taylor is very capable of figuring out what we need out there as far as staffing levels, correct?
Order, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
so we will open it.
And just to clarify, this is for the indoor pool only.
Yes, sir.
We do use less lifeguards for that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
2, probably 2.
So,
Okay.
still in
So-
discussion?
See, still in discussion for, consider our city manager to negotiate lease agreements.
Okay, so did you amend this C, Mr. Chris? Because it reads, consider an act upon authorizing city manager to negotiate lease agreements between the city of Alice and the Alice Swim Team for the use of the auditorium. I believe your motion said something about all lease agreements
I mean, if you
with
only
all
wanna-
parties.
If you only want to limit it to the swim team, that's fine, but I would like to make the facility available to anybody.
So are you, yeah, that's not
Under
what the agenda
This
item is.
agenda item
Like
that was
yours,
posted,
11.
it is limited to the Alice Swim Team. We can always, at the next meeting, broaden that
Exactly.
by giving open meetings notice. But again, this item was limited to the Alice Swim Team.
Okay, so here's my discussion. Thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Towler. So here's my discussion. Again, you'll see my name and Ms. Carrasco's name on all of this agenda item. I did not do the presentation. That was not my agenda item. My agenda items were very simple, clear. Open the pool, give the staff the directive, the order, they know what to do. C was consider an act entering and renewing the 2016 lease agreement for 2017. There was a lease that was entered between the Alice Swim Team and the City of Alice last year. Where, we're beating this thing back and forth, we're coming back and forth, I don't know how many numerous times, confusing the issue. The other discussion was enter into a long-term lease with the Alice Swim Team so that we don't need to be going through this all the time. We have a long-term lease agreement, whether it's 2 years, 5 years. The city manager is capable of negotiating those terms, but.
That comes with planning,
just-
Ms. Moran.
That's so that you know that was my agenda item,
Okay.
a long-term.
Any other
plan.
discussion for 11C that's on this? Okay. So,
I guess I need to amend to say, let's limit it to the Alice swim team.
limit it to the Alice swim team.
I have nothing against that, I just thought it'd be good for everybody, so.
And why can't you amend it?
Why
Mr.
can't-
Towler, just like Yolanda changed 11B, I think Mr. Crisp was trying to do the same thing in order to create more revenue for our city, which is what we need right now.
Oh, I don't dispute that, but under the Open Meetings Act, our agenda item is
Exactly.
limited to a lease with the Alice swim team. We didn't say a lease with just anybody. And it was Councilman Moran's agenda item, and that's what she requested. We can repost for another meeting for broader authority, but our notice for this meeting only included leases with the Alice swim team.
But correct me if I'm wrong, don't we already have a lease agreement that parties can enter to rent the facilities out there, Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Indoor portion.
I can't answer that, actually. I'm not.
So we have not rented the facilities
We've
out
not
there?
rented aquatic activity before.
Okay, but the question was, do we not have a lease agreement where any interested citizen can go and
At
lease?
the facility for the rooms, yes.
Okay,
But
so
not-
we can generate
Not
revenue
aquatic
that way?
Currently,
We currently have that in place?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. We just
Generating
need
revenue.
to amend the lease agreement perhaps at another date. Is that correct, Mr. Towler? Come back with
Well, a
a,
lease agreement for aquatic
open it.
activities. We also have non-aquatic activities out there at
Right.
the same facility.
just amend the lease to include aquatic activities.
The
Rental
lease that we
agreement.
did last
Rental
year.
agreements.
Right, the rental agreement that we did last year was not given to me for review or approval. I saw it for the first time a couple of days ago.
Exactly.
What I have drafted, I've tried to,
And this is for a later date, for us to come back.
actually, no, one of them is for June 3rd, the other one
Oh,
is
okay.
for a longer term. But the one that I had prepared for the June 3rd, the one that doesn't have the long list of places for dates, not that one. The other one is something that I've prepared and I think adequately protects the city. But it does need a blank filled in for the charge.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I've been thinking about this just a little bit more, but with the motion that was made and has passed, we actually don't really need to open it up to, for the rentals, because with the opening of the pool, rentals will be now available again?
If
Because that's,
If we
she
open
opened.
the pool,
Yeah.
then it's open for
Okay, good. Then
either
that basically
public
covers
coming
the same
in
thing.
or, but I would still suggest if we are going to allow an organization the exclusive right to use it, such as a swim meet, that we have an agreement with them that provides for insurance coverage, indemnity, hours of operation, rules of use and all of that. If we're going to give the Alice swim team the exclusive right to use it for a swim meet, we need something more like this to do it, rather than
Correct.
just opening the doors and letting them come in.
Exactly.
But we still have the ability for them to rent it, so that kind of covers the other side of
That's
what I
already-
wanted to do anyway, so.
And
Correct.
that's
Covered it.
exactly what I proposed to you, and that was the sample that I gave you to enter in a more
It's been in
detailed
place.
lease agreement
Right.
versus a
Yeah.
rental agreement.
Right, I would,
Thank you, just for clarification.
Okay. So 11C,
I made the amendment, so it just needs a,
we need a vote on it?
yep,
Okay, so I need, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed say nay. So the ayes have it. 11C, amended by Mr. Crisp.
Congratulations, swim team, you're in business.
Okay, let's move on. Excuse me, order, please. Let's be professional. Agenda item number 12. Here,
Minded.
if we can't have order, you will be asked to leave. Okay? Thank you. Agenda item number 12, here presentation from City Manager Andy Joslin to the City Council regarding status and plans for A, city's infrastructure, landfill, water plant, and desalinization plant, including plans of action and any grants available to help with the cost. B, Director of Finance search, including update on search. And C, consider and act upon requesting the city manager to provide to the city council an updated plan of action at a future date or dates for addressing the matters set forth above. So at this time, we'll hear from our city manager. Can we pause for just a second, a small recess?
Well, y'all can-
What time will we be returning? What time?
Literally 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
A 5-minute recess?
8:35.
Okay.
Sorry.